بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين.
Assalamu alaikum and Ramzan Sharif Mubarak. I'm Zainab Isaji. On behalf of our CEO Jamil Janjua and team OCTARA, I welcome you all in the Ramzan Sharif's transmission, which is Islamic Wisdom for today. In today's session, Abbas Husain, our Islamic scholar, will talk about the Quran. What is it? What is in it? Before starting the session, I just would like to share some of the housekeeping rules with you to keep the decorum smooth towards the end. I would request all the attendees to will be on the listen only mode. So that is like we don't have any like there's no sound and video over there for disruption. For technical issues, you can log out and log back in. The session one is being recorded, and the this session is being recorded, sorry, and the session one has already been uploaded on a YouTube channel, which is OCTARA Trainings. This session is also being live streamed on OCTARA's Facebook page, that is facebook.com/team OCTARA. If you would like to ask any questions, the questions will be entertained towards the end of the session in the chat box. All the participants, they will be presented an ebook towards the end of the session, so please stay connected. If you feel any of the technical difficulties towards the session, you can mention it in the chat box, or you can also email to our colleague Sarim Ateek, who is a co-host in this session. Now, please allow me to give you a brief introduction about the speaker or the scholar of the day, which is Abbas Husain. Abbas Husain is the Director of Teachers Development Center since 1997. He has taught Islamic Studies at Al Khan University School of Nursing for 19 years. He has conducted research in Islam and Quran since 35 years. He has taught 85,000 teachers to all over the world, like in Pakistan and in Muscat, Dubai, Kabul, and Dushanbe. Recently, he has been received an award by the Lifetime Achievement Award from Millennium Institute of Professional Development in Islamabad. Now, I would request Abbas Saab to take the seat.
Thank you, Zainab. That was a pleasure. Okay, mashallah, I have, okay. Is the screen visible?
Yes, you can keep it on the slide mode. Yeah.
Yeah, okay, right. Thank you, JJ Sahab, Jamil Janjwa Sahab, thank you, and team OCTARA. Aye ji, Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Although we have done the tilawat of Surah Fatiha as the starting, I would like to do this as the starting of this session. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Qala rabbi ishrah li sadri wa yassir li amri wahlul 'uqdatan min lisani yafqahu qawli. O Lord, expand my breast and make my task easy for me, and remove the knot of my tongue so that they understand what I'm saying. Okay. One of the interesting things about the Quran is that we need to know some technical terms and Quranic vocabulary. I'm going to take a look at these two words, ayat and surah. If you allow me to quickly jump through. Can you see? Okay. Many students ask for recommended translations. So my pride of recommendations is the English translation of Abdullah Yusuf Ali, the Holy Quran text translation and commentary. There is another reference coming up in the next slide. In Urdu, I highly recommend Dr. Hamid Hassan Bilgrami's Fuyuzul Quran, 2 volumes, Firoz Khan's Lahore. Okay. About the Just a moment. Yeah, I went backward. Sorry. Okay. Here is a new publication, the Study Quran. I heartily recommend it, but then again, this is a research volume. The Study Quran is by Sayyid Hussain Nasr and some of the world's today's Muslim scholarship. It is, let's say, it is not for ordinary reading. It is for detailed scholarly reading. For the moment, I'll just pause on that. On the web, the Quran is a lot of good materials are there. Corpusquran.com is an excellent website, giving you, I mean, when you sit on it, sit with a lot of kind of free time, and you'll have an understanding of how beautifully some scholars have put some materials here. The linguistic study of every word of the Quran, the number of times it occurs, how you can search it. The www.altafsir.com is a website run by the government of Jordan. The Hashemite Kingdom of Jordan is the sponsor of the Al Bayt Islamic Institute, and they have sponsored this. It is the most, shall we say, generous resource on the Quran today on the web. So young people who are web savvy are highly invited, heartily invited to go there. There's International Quranic Studies Association, IQSA Web, and that contains recent research on the Quran. And in a world of apps, there are excellent apps. And for Tilawat, I'm a great fan of Qari Rashid Al-Mishri, whose Tilawat is truly gorgeous. So here are some web savvy things that I can suggest. Let us begin with some very basic facts about the Quran. My starting was, what is it? Well, it is a book. The Quran is a book. And as a book, it is a book in Arabic. It contains the revelations from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to Prophet Muhammad from the year 610 to 632. Now, we know, here is a tentative bit of research that has been my privilege. 610 probably was January 13th, 610. And the Prophet passed away on 8th June, 632. And the last revelation came about 19 to 20 days prior to his passing. So that would mean somewhere in May. And that's perhaps the most courteous dates that we can get to about the sequence of revelation from the time of the first revelation till the last. Okay. It has 6,236 verses, which are ayat. It has 114 chapters, which are surahs. It has 540 rukus. It has 30 paras, and it has 7 manzils. And I ask this trick question to people, and I say to them, okay, tell me, what is a ruku in the Quran? And they say it's a paragraph. Okay, paragraph, okay. But then they say, no, it is a thematic paragraph, and that is not true. The same topic of a ruku can continue on to 2 or 3, 4 rukus. And then I throw them another trick question, and I ask them, but we have rukus in namaz. What is a ruku doing in the Quran? And that surprises most people. So let me just give you a quick answer to that. Yeah, I see someone writing in okay. Somebody is smiling. Okay, a ruku in the Quran is, now you know, of course, that in the namaz we are asked to read Surah Fatiha and a bit of the Quran, a sequence, a theme, a bit of the Quran. Well, we who normally read only short surahs can't quite remember, can't quite understand that very often people read entire surahs, entire long surahs. The Prophet of whom be peace is on record for having read Surah Yasin in Fajr namaz entirely in one rakat, and Surah Mulk in the next one. So whenever the Prophet offered long surahs in namaz, the number of ayats he would recite after Surah Fatiha and go into ruku is marked a ruku. Right? Does that make sense? So in a long surah, we know Surah Baqarah has 40 rukus. Surah Yasin has 5 rukus. So in the same way, whenever one decides to read a nafal namaz, or even, I mean, again, this is all depending on your memory and how much you have on mind. If you wish to recite, for example, Surah Yasin, and you are doing a 6 rakah namaz, you are invited to read the number of verses of each ruku after Surah Fatiha and then complete the namaz. And that's how you, and in the 6th rakat, you read another short surah and complete it. So a ruku then is the number of verses people read, or the the example of the Prophet, after Surah Fatiha in the namaz before going to ruku. That's what it is. The 30 paras is again quite simple. If you want to read the Quran in a month, read so much every day and you will finish it in a month. It's an arithmetical division of the Quran. Nothing fancy. कोई इसमें मुश्किल बात नहीं है. ये सब कहना कि बाद वाला है and all that, ये सब irrelevant है. When I want to read the book and I make marks, okay, read up to here every day and you will finish it in a month. That makes sense. And 7 manzils, obviously, if you want to read in a week, then if you read so much in a day, you will finish the Quran in a week. That's what it is. There's nothing complicated about it. It's quite lovely, really. Okay. So these were some basic facts. Recommended, yes, I have recommended translations. Here's one that I have mentioned. This is in English, MAS Abdul Halim, the Quran, Oxford University Press. Those who are listening, the good news is that if you are here with us in the end, the gift book that we have planned to give you is exactly this translation. This is the one you are getting. So there we go. And of course, I mentioned Abdullah Yusuf Ali's and Fiyuzul Quran by Dr. Hamid Hassan Bilgrami. Okay. All right. How do we answer this question? What is the Quran? I am going to share with you 4 answers have been typically given. And I consider them erroneous and I consider them a bit mistaken. And I will challenge all 4 of them. Here are, when people are asked, what is the Quran? They answer it as follows. And I'm going to say that no, the Quran is to be understood differently from these. Let's see. There are people who think the Quran is an encyclopedia. We'll talk about this. Or they say it's a book of law. Okay. And some people say it's a book of history. Some others say it's a book of science. And I reject all these answers. And I'm now going to give you my reasons for doing so. All right. The encyclopedia. Let's see. There are some people who believe that everything is in the Quran. It is just like an encyclopedia, they say. All you need is to open it at the right chapter and verse, and that's it. They say, they think about the Quran and its multiple translations and tafsirs and volumes, and they see, they think the Quran is like this huge volumes of encyclopedia on the wall. And just as when you want to look up a particular subject, if you are savvy, you know how to do it. You go right to the correct volume, that is the right surah and ayat, and you open it and you read it. Not true. This is not true. The Quran never defines itself as an encyclopedia. Never does the Quran say that it is everything. It is. So, you see, it's a deep, it's a disturbing thought. People say, what? Is Quran mein sab kuch hai? Nahin ji, sab kuch nahi. Not the reason. Not the way in which we interpret it. Friends, the line to take is, let me begin with, and in turn, this leads to great intellectual mischief. ये पहले मैं जरा समझा दूं कि what's the harm in this? Sir, इसमें क्या हर्ज है? Well, here it is. Great intellectual mischief. What happens is that people say everything is in the Quran. So then you say, what does it say about X? Because it's a modern problem. So then they say it doesn't. When they look through all the dictionaries and indexes and everything, that is, then they say it is silent on X. So what does that mean? Let us do what we like. बस फिर जो जी में आएगा, जो समझ में आएगा. Now you can imagine how you can drive a coach at 4 horses on a loophole like this and have all sorts of problems in society and not take the Quranic guidance by this weird sort of logic. Okay. You will at once see what an issue it is. When we approach it wrongly, obviously we will have mistaken expectations from it. So let us put it, jo courteous baat hai, wo sabse achhi hai. Yes, it contains everything we need for moral and spiritual guidance. Ye baat hai. If somebody says that the Quran contains everything, here is how I would put it. Yes, it does. Everything I need for moral and spiritual guidance. I need nothing else. It is superb. Okay. Now, that was point 1. And the Quran is not a book of law either. Yes, laws are one of the subjects of the Quran. Is one of the topics in the Quran. But the issue is not law. For the Quran, the principles of justice are a greater purpose than the specific laws. The Quran is interested in a just and rational society. It is interested in justice. Now, you know very well that law is a servant of justice. But I think before I say more and my lawyer friends get upset with me, law is a servant of justice. But we know very well that justice is a greater thing than the whole paraphernalia of law and courts and all of that, litigation. And all that. That's a subset of it. All right. Let us move on. I don't need to spend much time on this. As for history, certainly it is one of the concerns of the Quran. The Quran talks about the previous prophets and events of Sayyidina Ibrahim and other prophets and Yaqub and Yusuf. I mean, the great historical events that have happened. But history as the narration of facts that really happened is a modern need. History as the narration of facts. Friends, the issue is not what really happened. When Hazrat Yusuf, for example, is thrown by his brothers in the well, a famous story, Surah Yusuf mein, we don't really need to know what date it was, what day of the week it was. All these are irrelevant things. But we live in an age where we want to know, dot every I and cross every T. So there is no point really in dating everything. Point is the moral spiritual lesson to be learned from the event. The purpose of the Quran narrating various events of the previous prophets is the moral spiritual lesson. Not that this actually happened and he was so many years old and then at that time so and so many years old. It is not interested. Ye level hai hi nahi, nahi ye maqsad hai. Or we need to understand that there is sacred history, a good word. The grand narrative of the days of Allah. This word, Ayyam Allah, occurs in the Quran. It occurs twice. The days of Allah. And that of Allah's words and actions and the human response to it. How in the previous dispensations, the revelations took place and human beings agreed, disagreed, accepted, rejected, all of that. So that sacred history is one thing. We need to know that. Okay. So if the Quran does have history, it is sacred history. It is not what we in the modern world have this huff about the right dates and the events and the actual thing that happened. No, it's very hard. And the science, this is going to disturb some more people. I understand. The science of the Quran is an all-time apologetic of modern Muslims to the West. There are many people who would like to see the scientific facts and greatness in the Quran. And I say, okay, even if they are there, not the issue. But the purpose of the Quran is not that, it is something else. Seeing the mighty power of science and technology and the way it has shaped all life, it is as if Muslims are saying, and I mean here Muslims with a huge sense of insecurity, with a huge sense of being at a loss, they are saying, look, we are not so bad. We too have mention of these scientific facts in the Quran. ये एक किस्म की माजरत है कि देखो हम इतने गए गुजरे नहीं है. ये बात सही है कि आज हम सिविलाइजेशन के मुताबिक वेस्ट द फर्स्ट वर्ल्ड का जो स्टैंडर्ड है वो बहुत ऊंचा है. इट इज ट्रू. हमारा वहां नहीं है. वी आर इन बिग ट्रबल. हमारे से कुछ चीज नहीं होती. तो हम वी विल बोरो एवरीथिंग फ्रॉम यू, आस्क एंड बाय एवरीथिंग फ्रॉम यू. प्लीज हमें F-16 दे दो, हमें रडार दे दो, हमें ट्रेन चलाने के मशीन दे दो, हमें अल्ट्रासाउंड मशीन और वेंटिलेटर्स दे दो. प्लीज गिव अस. वी आर आस्किंग. तो ऐसे में सेल्फ रिस्पेक्टिंग मुस्लिम्स रियलाइज दिस and then they have this apologetic attitude to science and they want to bring everything into the Quran, and I'm saying no, won't work. And I'm going to give two more reasons for it. There is something odd about the way we get excited about the mention of some facts of creation by the best of creators. मेरी एक लॉजिक बड़ी दिलचस्प है कि if Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, Ahsanul Khaliqeen, the best of creators, is talking about some of the curious and wonderful things that he has created, उसके ऊपर exaggeration करके अपना क्यों मुसीबत कर रहे हो भाई? Why are you doing this? Why are you getting excited about it and saying, देखें जनाब कलाम पाक में साइंस की फलां कमाल की चीज है. It's actually quite obvious and has been around for centuries. And जरा सा गौर भी तो कीजिएगा. It may be disturbing to some people, but consider this. How come we find the scientific fact only after it has been discovered by scientists? यानी it's interesting, isn't it? कि वेस्टर्न साइंटिस्ट कोई चीज इजाद कर चुके हैं, मालूम कर चुके हैं, तभी हमें कुरान में नजर आता है. तो दे कैन टर्न अराउंड एंड से आपको पहले से क्यों नहीं नजर आया? आपके पास तो किताब थी 1400 साल से. Why didn't you find it? And we did find many things. I mean, ये पूरा एक अलग सब्जेक्ट है, but I'm turning it to 2021. मैं आज की बात कर रहा हूँ, today. And आइए एक और जरा तकलीफ दे बात पर गौर करें. Imagine a sympathetic scientist of the West. I know there are many people who have no interest in Islam and they are Quran burners. मैं उन लोगों की बात कर रहा हूँ. Suppose there is a sympathetic, एक हमदर्द, एक पुरखुलूस scientist है West का, and to him you talk in great detail about the Quran and science and all these wonderful things, talking to us about the subject. After listening carefully, he says, so all this time you didn't know the meaning of this verse? कुरान की इस आयत का मफहूम आप हमें ये बता रहे हैं कि ये साइंटिफिक बात. तो जब तक ये साइंटिफिक बात दुनिया की सामने नहीं आई थी, आपको इस आयत का मतलब ही नहीं मालूम था. दैट्स इंटरेस्टिंग. और एक और जरा तकलीफ दे बात सुनिए. You needed the Western scientists to find it. Only then you saw it in the Quran. तो पता चला कि खुद कुरान इंतजार में था कि मगरिब के साइंसदान पहले वो चीज मालूम कर लें, फिर आपको कुरान समझ में आएगा. नहीं माय फ्रेंड, दिस इज नॉट डिग्निटी. ये कुरान की इज्जत नहीं हो रही. इफ यू टॉक लाइक दिस, यू सी, आई एम डेलिबरेटली पुटिंग द केस इन अ वे दैट इज डिस्टर्बिंग. And I would like to say, don't exaggerate. Science in the Quran है, लेकिन उसको अपनी जगह जितनी है उतनी रहने दें, उससे ज्यादा ना करें. So, when I ask what is the Quran, I have turned to what it is not. Now I will turn to the answer. कि अच्छा जी, हमने ये तो बता दिया वो क्या नहीं है, तो अब आइए हम बताते हैं क्या वो है. And here is one way of answering. I have questioned some of the major errors in the way we have perceived the Quran. और ये बिल्कुल मैं अभी की बातें कर रहा हूँ. I'm talking about our time. Historically, 60s, 70s, the world was different. But in the 90s and in the new 21st century, the world is different. Perhaps, perhaps a useful strategy is to look at the Quran's own descriptions of itself. Why are we worried? हम क्यों ना कलाम पाकी से पूछ लें कि आप अपने बारे में क्या कहते हैं. Now, here is the amazing thing. कलाम पाक का एक बहुत अजीम बात है, और just to say this sentence took me 8 years. The self-reflexive nature of the Quran is unique in scriptures. अभी मैं उस बहस में नहीं जा रहा कि हमारे पास जो स्क्रिप्चर्स दूसरे मज़ाहिब के हैं, दूसरे अदियान के हैं, वो अपनी ओरिजिनल फॉर्म में है नहीं है. तौरात, ज़बूर, इंजील, द भगवद गीता, द फला, ओके, कम से कम जिस किताब को उसके मानने वाले इल्हामी किताब कहते हैं. अभी मैं इस बहस में नहीं जा रहा कि हम क्या कहते हैं. इट्स अ बिग सब्जेक्ट. The beauty is that only the Quran mentions itself in itself. Yani, this is an amazing thing. Of all the scriptures, only the Quran mentions itself in itself. But ये एक चीज by name. So बस ये एक बात point समझ लीजिए, आगे बढ़ते हैं. So in the time I have, I will focus on just 5. The Quran describes itself in a lot of ways. बहुत सारे adjectives वो use करते हैं. मैं सिर्फ 5 पर बात करूंगा. किताब, अरबियन, फुरकान, हुदा, and shifa. The Quran calls itself all these names, and I will explore these in the few minutes I have. Let's take a look. Kitab. It is a stunning comment on present day life that we need to remember. The Quran is not a collection of sentences. I think this is brilliant. And we live in an age जहां बहुत से लोग यही समझते हैं कि कुरान जुमलों का एक मजमुआ है. Sorry, no, it is not. No, it is not. The Quran is not a book of quotations from where we can pull out a sentence or phrase without regard of context and place it on Twitter and Facebook and WhatsApp and derive meaning from it and discuss it and bahs kare. And I find it sad. It is a disservice to the book. No, my friends, it is a book. Each sentence is an ayat, and the ayat belongs to surah, and the surahs together form the kitab. Surely we should grant the book of Allah the same courtesy we grant to a classic of literature. If today you were to take Shakespeare, Tolstoy, any of the human great literature, surely you wouldn't take a sentence from one place, one random sentence, and argue all sorts of stuff about it. वो तो ऐसा था, वो तो ये कह रहे होते. भाई, जो अदब और जो courtesy आप great literature के साथ करते हैं, कुछ अल्लाह की किताब के भी साथ कर दीजिए. You don't just take a random sentence. You recognize that it belongs to a surah, a chapter, and that chapter together becomes a kitab. And you should know if that chapter is a Makkan surah or a Madani surah. I mean, then this whole, so the respect to the Quran as a kitab is a serious issue, and that definition we should hold in our hearts and our minds. Next, the Quran is an Arabic book. Friends, the Quran describes itself as an Arabic scripture, Quran Arabian. And by saying this, we should remember the words of God cannot be replaced by the words of man. ये मेरा अंदाज है, बात कहने का बात बहुत सिंपल है. No translation will ever be equal to the actual Arabic words. Never. Not at all. So we must read the Quran in Arabic. Yes, we don't understand it. I understand. उसके बाद आप तर्जुमा पढ़ लीजिए. जिसका तर्जुमा आपको अच्छा लगता है पढ़ लीजिए. Never read just one translation. Read two, more. वो एक अलग issue है. समझना लाजमी है. Don't get me wrong. But don't replace the Arabic of the Quran by an English or Urdu or any muhtaram tarjuma you are reading. No issue. Translations are all good. But do not think that the translation is the Quran. And ये नुक्ता बहुत simple. जी. Okay, जी. Furqan. I love this. The word Furqan is actually that which the criteria, that which distinguishes good from evil, the permitted from the prohibited, the blessed from the cursed, heaven from hell, the path to heaven from the path to hell. See, the Furqan, the Quran clearly describes the way of life that is good, the way of life that is permitted, the way of life that is blessed, and the way of life that leads to heaven, and contrasts it. और वो दो टोक बात करता है. एक बहुत बड़ा सब्जेक्ट है ये, but कलाम पाक का फुरकान होना has been a great quality described by itself in its text. Dr. Hamid Hassan Bilgrami Saab, from whom I had the honor of learning and as a student for over 12 years, हमने उनके साथ बैठे, once used an amazing phrase in explaining Furqan. It is in Urdu. तमीज़ खुश हो ना खुश. तमीज़ खुश हो ना. Lovely. Furqan is तमीज़ खुश हो ना खुश. It has an elegance and a nobility in it. Friends, the problem of good and evil तो आसान है. मेरा मसला good and evil नहीं है. मेरा मसला the second best and the best. In my life, the tragedy and the choice is not between the worst and the best. That's obvious. The problem is between choosing the second, not choosing the second best from the best. There lies the nuance. And that is what you were saying. Tamiz khush hona. Lovely word. Okay. Huda, guidance. The purpose of the Quran is guidance. Huda linnasi wa bayyinatin min al-huda wal furqan. Surah Baqarah. Guidance from Allah leads to harmony, peace, unity, amity. Guidance from Allah leads to harmony, peace, unity, amity. Otherwise, corruption, fasad, violence, discord are the works of shaitan. तो अगर कलाम पाक से मुझे हिदायत लेनी है, तो उस हिदायत का जो अमली मजहर है, वो oneness, peace, अमन, भाईचारा, large heartedness, forgiveness, ये qualities हों. और अगर ये नहीं है तो फिर करप्शन है, फसाद है. तो ये तो हम समझते हैं अल्लाह की बात नहीं है, ये फिर किसी और. Shifa, healing. And finally, the Quran describes itself as healing. It says, Shifa'um ma bayna fis sudur. It says it is healing for what is in your hearts, in your chests. Surely it is not physical disease, but moral and spiritual disease. और ये एक बस दिलचस्प observation है, part of my research, कि the word disease, mars, occurs in the Quran 12 times. The word mars, disease, occurs in the Quran 12 times. All 12 times the word qalb also occurs in that ayat. It's very interesting. यानी जिन भी आयात में लफ्ज मर्ज है, उन आयात में कल्ब मौजूद है जरूर. So in the language of the Quran, disease is always an issue of the heart. And we don't mean the physical heart. We mean the moral and spiritual diseases of anger, of pride, of greed, of jealousy, of gluttony, of laziness. These are the diseases for which the Quran describes itself as a healing. ये बात जरा क्लियर कर लूं. Please understand, मैंने ये कहा है कि जहां मर्ज है वहां कल्ब है. हमने ये नहीं कहा कि जहां कल्ब है वहां मर्ज है. No, the Quran uses the word qalb in very many more places positively. and अच्छाई से. मेरा ये नुक्ता, it's a small point, but please don't misunderstand me. And we take this cue to turn to a rare self-description of the Quran. This is Surah Hashr, and here is the Quran describing itself. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. لو أنزلنا هذا القرآن على جبل لرأيته خاشعا متصدعا من خشية الله وتلك الأمثال نضربها للناس لعلهم يتفكرون. Had we sent this Quran on a mountain, surely you would have seen it quake with the fear of Allah. Thus do we explain with examples so that you may reflect. We turn to a key word, tafakkur, which is to think, reflect, ponder, consider, meditate over, contemplate. How does this operate in the Quran? ये लफ्ज कैसे operate करता है? आइए देखते हैं. The root of the word tafakkur is fikr. And to do fikr is to align one's cognition in the three domains: the self, the world, and the book. इस एक जुमले के लिए मैं अपने असातिज़ा और अपने करम फरमाओं का बहुत बहुत ज्यादा शुक्रगुजार हूँ. Deep thought here. आइए जरा इसको समझें. Incidentally, all three are called books, kitab, in the Quran. It's very interesting. The word kitab is used to refer to the book of the self, जिसको हम नामा अमाल कहते हैं, जो हमें दिया जाएगा पढ़ने के लिए. किताब अल्लाह है, which is the Quran, और किताब मुबीन है, which is a book of the universe, the universe, as we shall see. In a word, the Quran is a microcosm, which is the universe-made book. And the universe is a macrocosm, the book made large. And mankind, each individual person, is also a microcosm, the universe made small. Each individual human being contains the whole universe in a symbolic way within us. And the masters have turned this into a complete system, into a complete thought system. किसी और महफिल में ये फिर ऑनलाइन गुफ्तगू के लायक नहीं है, इसके लिए फिर और किस्म की स्टडीज हैं. To see the essential harmony in all these three great books, all authored by Allah, is the central insight I am offering today. And ये इतनी सारी और किताबें जो कायनात में हैं, उसका क्या है? My response to the wealth of knowledge and insight available to us in the world today is to rejoice that the Quran contains this magnificent verse: if all the trees were pens and all the woods ink, still would not the words of God be exhausted, even if we added 7 oceans there. So ये अल्लाह ताला की हिकमत और विजडम की बहुतात है, and we should have this understanding that Allah Ta'ala's wisdom is infinite, is unlimited, and we are to seek it and imbibe it and learn from it throughout. And it is not something you would be done with in a day or a month, but a lifelong quest that promises to lead to a fullness in living in this world and the next. And that brings me to conclusion. Thank you very much. I pause here and open to questions, comments, responses, and over to Zainab. Thank you, Zainab.
Yeah. People who want to ask questions, they can type, or also they can like unmute themselves and ask. Is there any questions? Yeah.
Okay, I can see the question here.
Okay.
Sir, can you share? Acha, okay, mashallah, all right. Thank you. This is one of my students, Zora. Assalamu alaikum, Zora. There are 43 adjectives used in the Quran. It calls itself bayan, the argument. It calls itself nur, light. It calls itself the good news, basharat. There is a word which goes with it according to the grammatical sense. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given us a whole spectrum of words that give us its that train our attitudes unto the Quran. Ah yes, Hakim. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Yasin wal Quran al-Hakim. The wise Quran. Kareem, the Quran, the noble Quran. So there are other words, 43 of them totally, that refer to that are used by the Quran in itself to describe it.
Okay, is there any other question?
जी Abbas,
Jana, please.
you mentioned that the words of God cannot be replaced by the words of man. Does that mean that my reading of the Quran in English is not sufficient to to have done my duty? Because I cannot read Arabic, or I cannot
I understand.
at this point in time study Arabic.
Yeah. No. Jamil Sahab, it's a very simple. Today, modern resources have made recordings of the Quran available. Extremely easy. YouTube has it. Other recordings have it. No issue. Here is one suggestion. The Arabic of the Quran is to be heard. The translation is to be read. So, mashallah, I read many translations in order to understand all this wisdom is only possible because I can read the English translation and a bit of Urdu and all that. But the Arabic contains the nuances which we must understand. You see, there is I would like you to watch a video by Leslie Hazelton. A tourist reads the Quran. Leslie Hazelton. Tourist, if you just write the word tourist and Koran in TED Talks, you will get it immediately. Now, there is an outsider who recognizes and who actually says that the Quran is only the Quran in Arabic. When you read the translation, you are reading a shadow of itself. Amazing word. You are reading a shadow of itself. And no shadow is equal to the good. So I understand the difficulty, but Allah Ta'ala is very merciful. Bilgrami Sahab से हमने इसके हवाले से टेक्निकली पूछा कि सर नई नस्ल में ऐसे बच्चे आ रहे हैं जिनका तालीमी निज़ाम पाकिस्तान का नहीं था. And they didn't. They studied somewhere else, England, USA. नहीं उनका exposure. उनका भाई, if you listen to the Quran in tilawat and follow the Arabic with your eyes from the book, that's considered as you reading it. ये बराबर है आपके. Even if you can't utter the words, not the issue. But one complete hearing in Arabic is absolutely necessary to do the service. बाकी तर्जुमान जितना चाहो पढ़, read all of it. जी आदिल साहब हाथ उठा रहे हैं. जी आदिल साहब, अस्सलाम वालेकुम.
जी अस्सलाम वालेकुम सर. How are you?
I'm good.
अब्बास साहब, अर्ज ये है कि ये एक पैगाम है दुनिया के लिए सही राह पे चलने का. तो अगर वो समझ अल्लाह ताला भेज देता है तो फिर इतनी डीपली डेल्व करने की, ये तो अल्लाह ताला, इट्स वर्क इन प्रोग्रेस बिकमिंग अ मुस्लिम. तो शुड वी फील एक्सट्रीमली सॉर्ट ऑफ पुट आउट अगर हम इस लेवल पे नहीं पहुंचे? कुरान शरीफ अगर अरबी में नहीं समझ पाए या सीख पाए?
नहीं ऐसे नहीं. एक मिनट सर, एक मिनट. हजरत सलमान फारसी was a Persian. He was not an Arabic speaking person. He became a companion of the Prophet. His pronunciation of Arabic was off. Hazrat Bilal was not able to say the sheen in his life. No. इसमें बड़ा forgiveness है. Sir, ऐसी बात ही नहीं. The Prophet allowed Hazrat Salman Farsi to offer a translation in Persian of Surah Fatiha to a few friends who came to visit him and who accepted Islam. This is a historical moment. The Prophet said, you must recite Surah Fatiha in Arabic in the namaz. Till such time as you get your tongue around it, read the Persian translation. It is allowed. But you get to the Arabic as quickly as possible, and they did. तो ऐसा है, इस पे गुंजाइश है. अल्लाह ताला की बड़ी मेहरबानी है और अब तो इतनी टेक्नोलॉजी आसान हो गई. एक बात. दूसरी बात, जो आपका ओपनिंग कमेंट था उस पर मैं आप पे कमेंट यूं कर दूं. बिल्कुल मॉडर्न एग्जांपल ले लें. In the 8th grade, I studied Macbeth. Shakespeare, Macbeth. It was only 3 pages. When I went to college, I studied Macbeth. It was 25 pages. When I went to do masters in English literature, I also studied Macbeth. At that time, it was by original William Shakespeare. And the commentaries on Macbeth are in entire volumes. भाई ये तो एक क्वेस्ट है. वो 8वीं जमात के लिए 3 पेज काफी थे. इंटरमीडिएट में वो 25 पेज काफी थे. और फिर जब डेप्थ समझ आई तो पता चला कि यार इसमें तो बड़ी दुनिया है. So just like that, the Holy Quran is also a work in progress, और हमारा understanding is also a work in progress. It's a soft thing. Exactly.
सर अमली जामा पहनाना है ना, तो अब वो रिसर्च में लग गए तो फिर it is
No,
like
it works both ways.
sitting
Sir.
no.
Hello. What would you say? एक minute. What would you say? It's a calling. It's a calling. आपका बुलावा हुआ करता है. Not everyone is called to do scholarship. But thanks to that scholarship, so many other things become easy for us. जब भी तो अमल मुमकिन होगा. Right? अच्छा, मैं एक और हाथ देख रहा हूँ. हसन तिरमिज़ी साहब. अस्सलाम वालेकुम. जी सर. हसन तिरमिज़ी साहब जी बताइए.
अनम्यूट करना होगा मैंने.
जनाब अली अस्सलाम वालेकुम.
वालेकुम सलाम.
कैसे मिजाज सर? खैरियत से हैं सर? बहुत शुक्रिया.
बहुत खुशी हुई आप हैं. सही.
थैंक यू वेरी मच सर. सर आप ही की एक पहली गुफ्तगू में से एक चीज मेरे जहन में आ रही थी कि आपने जिक्र किया था कि कलाम पाक जो है वो पढ़ना तो सारा ही चाहिए, लेकिन जो उसमें आपकी दिलचस्पी है जो कि आपको अपने अंदर एनगल्फ कर लेती है और आप उसके अंदर अपने आप की दिलचस्पी कायम रख सकते हैं, तो सूरह मरियम से आगे शुरू किया जाए ताकि आप फिर उसको
सूरह बनी इसराइल
करके.
सूरह बनी इसराइल चैप्टर 70.
जी
जी जी हाँ बिल्कुल बिल्कुल. बहुत शुक्रिया. थैंक
वो मेरे ख्याल में वो बहुत मुनासिब रहेगा कि अगर उससे शुरू किया जाए तो, और फिर वापस आप वहां तक पहुंच जाए तो आसानी हो जाएगी लोगों के लिए.
ऑलराइट. भाई तिरमिज़ी साहब ने मेरे अपने टीचर का एक मशवरा हमें दिया, एंड दिस इज टू एवरीबॉडी हु इज लिसनिंग. I understand that when you start reading the Quran from page 1 and you go to Surah Baqarah, you lose interest. Let's be honest. You find the discussion quite kind of, very opaque. You find the topics uninteresting and you say in your heart, यार ये सब सच है, लेकिन मुझे इसमें दिलचस्पी नहीं आ रही. Let us be बिल्कुल अपनी कमाई की बात करें. So my teachers have given me this wisdom कि don't start from page from Surah Baqarah. Don't start from page. Start from the 15th para, the 17th surah, Surah Bani Israel. Start from there and continue on till the 30th para. Go right through. And then come to the first para. 15th para से start किया आपने Surah Bani Israel से. उसके बाद you will hit Surah Kaf. उसके बाद you will hit Surah Maryam. उसके बाद Surah Ta. You will be engrossed in the narrative, in the sacred history, in the grand narrative. आपको उसमें मजा आना शुरू होगा. जब आप वो पढ़ना शुरू करेंगे और अब आप कंटिन्यू करेंगे तो छोटी सूरतें आ जाएंगी, 30वां पारा हो जाएगा. Then when you turn to Surah Baqarah, you will marvel that it is all making sense. आपको वो पिछली का, क्योंकि अल्लाह ताला के हबीब ने, अल्लाह के रसूल ने इसको भी समझाया है that the Quran is the best explainer of itself. So part of the Quran explains the part of the Quran. It just shows its unity. So when you do this, you will be amazed that the book now suddenly has, like the jigsaw puzzle pieces fall into place. So Alhamdulillah, ये एक छोटा सा wisdom का एक piece है. आप इससे पढ़िए, अल्लाह ताला इसमें बरकत डालेंगे और आपको अल्लाह ताला की किताब से एक उनसियत और एक शगफ हो जाएगा.
Is there any more questions? Okay, I just want to share what we promised with you. This is a book which we promised that you will be getting it. It is on English translation of the Quran by M.A.S. Abdul Halim. I will share the link in the chat box for you to download it. Now, I would request that if you guys, anyone wants to learn this Islamic teaching or want to get engage any of the teachers in your organization for this, so you can guys contact OCTARA, and we can then connect you with the Abbas Teachers Development Center so that you can get any of the teachers or you can get the teachings. And for the volunteer contribution for the cause of teachers education, I would like, if you guys want to contribute over there, I will share the account details in the chat box with you. So in the next session, which is on Thursday, on 29th of April, we'll discuss about spirituality in 3 traditions. And if you guys want to get registered for this, so you can contact my colleague Sarimati. His details is over here. Now I would request JJ to add some words to this session.
There's not much one can add after Abbas has so clearly explained in his own way what the Quran is all about. It's always inspiring to hear him because he always opens up new thoughts in your mind or inspires the new thoughts that are, opening up new avenues of insights into whatever he has said. So, thank you for provoking all these insights and thoughts. And thank you for your time again. This is the second session you have so kindly conducted with us at OCTARA. And we look forward to the third session, which Zainab has just announced next Thursday. And I would like to thank all the participants who have stayed with us during this 45 minutes, and hope that they will be around in the next session too. So once again, thank you, Abbas. Thank you for your insights. Thank you for your time. Perhaps one of these days we could also sit down and get some an hour of your Macbeth. Since you've gone through so much study of it. Maybe we would like to hear, what your point of view is with regards to Macbeth.
Oh yes, sir, ये अलग ही महफिल है, उसका रंग ही अलग.
बिल्कुल नहीं.
Thank you. I see Waqas has raised his hand. Waqas,
yeah, Waqas has. And before asking question, Waqas, I would request everybody to on your video screen so that we can take a click for this memorable session. Sure. Waqas, you may ask your question, please.
सर अब्बास साहब क्या हाल है सर, खैरियत से हैं?
जनाब
सर मैं मोहम्मद वकास गुप्ती अर्ज कर रहा हूँ, पीसीएस डेरा मुराद जमाली ब्रांच मैनेजर हूँ। सर मेरा सवाल ये था कि आप अभी फरमा रहे थे कि कुरान पाक को 15वें पारे से आप अगर स्टार्ट करेंगे तो आपको जो है ना पढ़ने में बहुत दिलचस्पी महसूस होगी। तो सूरह बकरा से स्टार्टिंग फिर हमारे सहाबा ने क्यों करवाई? कुरान पाक को जब लिखा गया तो उसको 15वें पारे से क्यों नहीं लिखा गया?
भाई सबर एक कलाम पाक का सबर वकास मियां बहुत अच्छी बात किया। वकास भाई देखिए, एक हरगिज कलाम पाक की तरतीब सूरह फातिहा, सूरह बकरा, सूरह आल इमरान, सूरह निसा पर ना सवाल है, ना कमेंट है, ना चैलेंज है, ना तब्दील है। ये बहस नहीं, ये आर्ग्यूमेंट ही नहीं। हम जिस नई नस्ल से मुखातब हैं, हम जिन मसाइल से प्रॉब्लम्स में हैं, उसके हवाले से एक तजवीज दी गई है कि आप 15वें पारे से शुरू करें ताकि आपका दिल लग जाए कलाम पाक से। और प्लीज याद रखिए, कलाम पाक इस तरतीब में नाजिल नहीं हुआ। सूरह बकरा सूरा नंबर 85 है नजूल के एतबार से, नजूल के एतबार से। तो ये बिल्कुल कोई इशू नहीं है। अल्लाह ताला ने अपनी किताब से और अपनी सूरतों में इतनी कमाल रखा हुआ है कि आप इसकी तरफ आ जाएं। मेरा हरगिज मतलब कलाम पाक की तरतीब को छेड़ना नहीं है, आपका दिल लगाना मकसूद है। और ये मैं अपने बहुत बड़े मोहतरम डॉक्टर हामिद हसन बिलग्रामी, जो फयूजुल कुरान के मौलिफ हैं, वन ऑफ आवर ग्रेट टीचर्स, मैं उनकी बात कर रहा हूँ। ये मेरे बस में नहीं कि मैं ऐसी कोई बात कर सकूं, ठीक है ना? तो नहीं भाई, कोई सवाल ही नहीं। आपका ये बहस या मेरी ये बहस कि कलाम पाक की तरतीब बदलने की बात हो रही, ये नहीं हो रही, ये पढ़ने की बात हो रही। तो भाई पढ़ने में तो तुम जानते हो, छोटी उम्र में 4 कुली पढ़ते हैं, थोड़े से और ऊपर होते हैं तो यासीन शरीफ पढ़ लेते हैं। कोई नहीं बहस करता कि सूरह बकरा क्यों नहीं पढ़ी आपने, ना कोई बहस करता कि कलाम पाक की जगह पर वो वहां कहाँ है। नहीं, हमने ये तरतीब पढ़ने के लिए बताई है। आप आजमाइए। और अहबाब जानते हैं, मेरे दोस्त जानते हैं जिन्होंने ये किया है, that it is amazing how it works। ठीक है, Thank you. आपने
इंशाल्लाह
अच्छी
सर,
बात
will
कह दी,
do, sir,
वाज़ेह,
will do.
है ना?
Sarim, can you just take the click? Waqas, if you would like, you can like switch on your video. Sarim, just let us know when it should be like started.
Sorry.
Thank you, Abbas Niazi.
Thank you.
People are just hold on. They are like, you are done. Okay. Thank you. Thank you, everybody. Thank you, everybody, for this today's session. Abbas Saab, my team, everybody. Thank you.
Right.
Thank you, Zainab.
Allah Hafiz.
Hafiz. Look forward to see you again, Abbas Saab, next Thursday.
Yes, bilkul. Thank you. Next time.
All the best, everybody. Allah Hafiz.
Allah Hafiz.